Well, hi there, folks. This is your host, Dr. Danger, and today we're going to be talking all things the Declaration of Independence. Probably the coolest thing ever written in the late 18th century. Its author is a young Thomas Jefferson, co-editors some people like Roger Sherman, Ben Franklin, John Adams, and arguably one of the most important documents in our nation's history. All right, so what I'd like to do is break it down into four components, right? The four components are the preamble, which is your introduction. Then we move into natural rights. I like to break natural rights down into two sections. It's a little bit more consumable that way. All right, then we move into our British wrongs, okay, which is the laundry list of things that annoy the colonists. And finally, we move into declaring independence, where it's like, dude, we are officially breaking up here. So, with that said, let's begin. Let's check out, first off, the preamble, which is our introduction. Okay, so it starts off with when in the course of human events. Who starts things like that? I love it. It becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. So let's begin by breaking down that first central idea. Okay, sometimes, forgive my spelling, it is necessary for two groups to break up. Right? Because think of this as America's breakup letter to Great Britain. All right. And to which have connected them to another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations. All right, that's important. We're going to be separate and equal. The laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, require that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. Okay, so not only is it that sometimes it's necessary for people to break up, all right, we as two nations to break up, but we are breaking up with you. We are now separate, yet equal. Okay, separate and equal is important because we are no longer your colony. We are your equal. Okay, but it is important for other nations of the world to know why. Right? Because this is going to be an explanation as to what we're doing. All right, so the central idea in our introduction is sometimes it's necessary for two groups to break up. All right, we are breaking up with you. We are now separate yet equal. Okay, we're on the same ground. It is important for others to know why. So that's our introduction, or what Jefferson liked to call the preamble. All right, so let's move next into stage two. Okay, stage two is the statement of natural rights, and it starts off with the line which is arguably the most important. Well, certainly it's the one that people recognize, and it's this: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I mean, that's some pretty powerful stuff. And you could spend your whole life studying that. But let's move into it. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, that line is super powerful. So, what is it actually saying? And look at this, I put this in the wrong section. So let me jump up to my preamble. Okay, this was my Command V. All right, now let's move into our natural rights component. Okay, so we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. All right, all humans have equal rights. These rights are given by God and cannot be taken away. Okay, that's what he is saying in the words unalienable. It means that they cannot be taken away. And the reason is that they're not given by a king, all right? They're not given by your governor. They're given by your Creator, and they can't be taken away by a human being. Okay, cool. So, moving then into the rights. Okay, all people have the rights to life, liberty, Okay, we can call that freedom. All right, and the term the pursuit of happiness is a wild term. We can try to interpret it in many different ways, but for our purposes, let's say the right to pursue your dreams, right? The right to pursue what makes you happy. Cool. So let's move into our second central idea in the rights that Thomas Jefferson is talking about. All right, so we start here that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That is such a heady line because it redefines people's relationship to their government. Okay, and what he's saying is the primary purpose of government is to protect the unalienable rights of people. Okay? That had never been in the history of the world. It had never been that a group of people rule to protect the rights of others. Okay? Not only that, okay, the government gets its right to rule from the permission of the people. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? That a government only rules because people give it the right to do that. All right, this part's wild too. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. Now, that is what Jefferson is attempting to do here, okay? So it's if the government does not protect your rights, you must change or destroy it. Oh, I misspelled destroy. Okay, so then let's take a look at cleaning this up and concluding this section, and then we'll talk about irony. And to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles as organizing its powers in such a form as they will seem most likely to affect people's safety and happiness. All right, so recreating a government that is going to protect the rights of people. Now, let's talk irony, okay, because it is an important component. However, I think it first needs to be defined. So let me jump up here. We're going to I-R-O-N-Y, irony, all right, and nope, that's not what I want. Okay, we'll look up our definition. And our definition is this: the expression of one's meaning by using language that normally signifies the opposite, typically for humorous or emphatic effect. Now, I don't think that Thomas Jefferson was trying to be ironic. However, we can look at it today, right, in the context of his words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Was there equality in America at that time? It's very hard to say so, given the context that, we're talking about slavery. The institution of slavery is real at this point. And also, the rights of women are nowhere near the rights of men. Okay? And there are various religious groups that are discriminated against. We've come to understand this term in a broader way now. Okay, that all humans are endowed by their creator with unalienable rights. However, that is the irony. Okay, so if I'm going to sketch this out, I'm going to say that the irony is that slavery existed in the context of all men are created equal. All right, cool. Let's jump next into our second component of it. Prudence will indeed dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all expertise has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But a long train of usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such a government and to provide new guards to their future security. All right, so what Jefferson is saying here, first, is that the central idea is that government should only be changed for a really good reason. Also, people don't like change. However, this is so bad that we need change. All right, we are not talking about light and transient causes. All right, we are talking about a situation that really needs change. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and is such now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny. Okay, tyranny is an important word. To provide this, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. Okay, so what he's saying is, here is why. Okay, and that's what brings us into the British wrongs. And think of the British wrongs as really a 28 count indictment of the things that upset the colonies. It actually encompasses the majority of the document. For our purposes, all right, I tried to break it down into a few categories, but let's think about it this way. Disbanding colonial legislatures. The first 12 wrongs are all about the laws, okay, or the legislative process, and by legislative process I mean the making of laws, that are just not fair. Then it moves into taxes imposed without the consent of the people, which is taxation without representation that dates back to the Magna Carta. That was very upsetting. Lastly, it's using the British military against a civilian population. That was very offensive. The idea that your government would use a military to control you. And lastly, failing to listen to our complaints. Okay, so it's essentially the laundry list of reasons why we're breaking up with you. And that's the third section, the British wrongs. Let's move into the fourth section. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these United States are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. Okay, so in looking toward the final component, the central idea here is, first off, we are now broken up and free. Okay? Now, it's going to move into the rights of the nation next. That these United States are and have right to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiances, okay, so we no longer are friends with you, to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have the full power, okay, so this is important, to levy war, conclude peace, and contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other things to which independent states might do. Okay, so not only are we now broken up and free, we have the right to create war, peace, and business or trade with whomever we please. Okay, all right, let's wrap this up here, folks. And for the support for this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our combined lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. That to me is pretty heavy. Okay, so it's saying that everyone signing agrees to risk his life, money, and reputation. Okay, the reason for it is what they were engaging in was considered treason. And if they lost, they were going to face most likely the death penalty. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed our little screencast on the Declaration of Independence, and good luck to you.